There's a Mary Landrieu quote in here saying, we need to pass this. This is going to help Americans. I mean, how bizarre. More taxes. People are going bankrupt. In closing, Congressman, we've now discovered that an Obama campaign operative has founded a coffee party. I actually had this idea with listeners 2 months ago to get real constitutionalists to take the Tea Parties back from the neocons. Now it turns out Obama picked up this idea and that his campaign operatives are now getting all this media attention to tell us to love our federal government, that it's our federal government. I mean, that shows how powerful the Tea Parties are, if not just the Republican establishment, but now the Democrats are flooding in trying to pose as patriots.
Yeah. Yeah, they want us to love the government. How about loving our country and understanding what freedom is all about? But the battle is outside. I mean, one thing is they're starting to recognize that the battle may be outside of the conventional wisdom of Republicans and Democrats that run Washington, and actually the discussion going on in the independent Tea Party type movement. And there's no reason to think that everybody is going to believe the right thing and get together and do the right thing in those who are objecting. But anybody who's involved better realize that if a significant movement, erupts like the Tea Party movement, there will be plenty left and right, and everybody else who has a special interest will want to get in and try to control it.
Well, to see the establishment trying to pose as anti-establishment is truly sickening. but I mean, look at your 84% approval rating. People know the real McCoy. 1 minute left. The economy. A lot of top economists are now agreeing with you and others that we may have a mega depression in the next 16 months, and they're positioning the IMF and World Bank with a new global constitution where they will pose as saviors again. How concerned are you that this recession could get a lot worse?
Well, I think it is going to get a lot worse, and what is happening now is Wall Street's recovered and a few companies have recovered, but the unemployment rate is still very high and getting worse. And there will be plans. I'm sure they've been talking about it for quite a few years, because those who run the international banking system know that they're in trouble, so they are laying plans for this. But people do ask me about, well, do you think this will bring on the North American Union and North American currency? And I really don't think so. I think the bigger concern should be a worldwide currency, and the IMF and the United Nations grabbing hold and trying to dictate to us. But we have economic laws on our side, because you can propose these things, and even if it does serve the special interest, if it violates economic law, it won't work. So they can't maintain a good currency. And that's why I think the European Union is very, very fragile. Not only the euro, but the union as well, because it's artificial. And I think that's what would happen on a world government and a world currency. But in the meantime, it could get pretty messy, and they're going to work very hard to get organized, which means they'll work hard to undermine our personal liberties.
All right. That's most of the interview I did with Ron Paul live earlier, but he was going to be with us for 30 minutes, but a vote came up, so I went live right at the start of the hour in the first 5 minutes, and I know some stations don't carry that, and he talked about such incredibly weighty issues that I wanted to go back over that. I have articles here where Germany, that pretty much runs the EU, is saying we're not going to help Greece with any other loans. Now, Goldman Sachs goes in. They're the key manager for the private central banks a decade ago. And they tell Greece how to create a double set of books. This is now even in Reuters. They tell them how to invest in derivatives, which internal documents that came out last year in McClatchy News Service prove they premeditatedly did it here in Iceland and Greece and Spain and a bunch of other nations. It's the same thing the IMF and World Bank do as the holding companies for these private brokerage firms and banks in the third world in the last 150 years. They go in, they give the government a bunch of money at 30, 40% compounding interest, and they tell them in internal agreements that have come out, don't pay this back, and then you're going to give us your water, your roads, your infrastructures, your government. And then it doesn't matter who gets in office after that, or if it's a dictator or whatever the case is, the banks now run it. And they do this out of fiat money backed up by U.S. and European taxpayer money. Now this new banking system that they're setting up, this Bank of the World, this new constitution of and by the banks, they will break their bonds with even Western governments, who they're now imploding like third world nations, and issue their own global-backed currencies. You'll still have a euro, still have a dollar, still have a yen, a yuan, but globally, this private banking cartel will set the value of those currencies. Then they can play them off against each other, and their own internal documents show, came out in 2002, IMF World Bank documents got leaked when Stiglitz left, Nobel Prize winner, at Economist World Bank, or was it IMF? The point is, documents from both banks talking to each other came out. Look up Stiglitz. He was IMF chief economist, wasn't it? Point is that it came out that it was all premeditated, and they set this up in third world countries, and we're now planning to do it in the West. In Iceland, they claim they owe 10 times or more the entire GDP and wealth of the nation. Then Iceland said no, and the bankers said, oh, wait a minute. Don't kick us completely out after we threatened you and threatened to use anti-terror laws on you internationally to put sanctions on you. Guess what? It turns out our banks have assets in your country already that'll pay this off. Well, when Greece went under by design, they openly put in as their new banking minister a Goldman Sachs executive. That's the key group managing all this. They all make money off of it, but that's the key inner criminal circle managing it. And Europe's saying, we're not going to give you any money to bail you out. You must give your government islands to the banks. And so Greece is being fully stripped. Their people are rioting. Same thing is happening in Indonesia. They know what it means when the government bails out banks. They know it's a robbery because they've been through this before. We're going to continue breaking this down because this is the main issue. This is the top issue straight ahead.